Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution episode number 204. Looks like I've got a faux hawk going this morning. Got my haircut the other day, and I've got some serious morning bedhead. That's pretty sweet. So good morning and happy Saturday. And a big Friday mail day. This hair is, I need a hat down here. This hair's killing me. At a big Friday mail day. So actually mail and trade day. So I ran out of top loaders this week, and Zach was awesome enough to shoot me over some top loaders. So I was able to get through that, like held pulled top loaders. So I had just an 4,000. It was super heavy, trying to carry it down the steps into my basement. So I am set. I'm getting message unstable. This happens on Saturday mornings, and it happens in like through a Facebook group. 2 years ago, we did like a through the mail trade, like a flat rate, and he was looking for, I think, Red Sox cards at the time. And then we just held off because it was Chicago Sports Spectacular was coming up in Rosemont. So we actually met up. And then what's up, Dan? Good morning. So that was our second trade, was at the Chicago Sports Spectacular. And we did another trade at the National. And then he reached out and he's like, hey, I'm not looking for any cards, but I'll sell you, basically a penny a card. So I bought maybe 4,000 or 5,000 cards from him a couple months ago. And he's like, be coming up to Madison. I'm working on hopefully like 20,000 or more Cubs cards. So what's up, George? Good morning. Good evening to you guys. So he reached out like a month ago and he's like, hey, I had to cancel my trip, but it'll give me more time to sort. I'll have more. So initially, like a month ago, he had like 16 or 18,000. So he reaches out this week and he's like, hey, I can make it up on Friday. I've got 28,200 the price. I said, yeah. So we met up, and so I added 28,200. I was able to count my recent mail days in addition to my 2021 Topps Cubs that I had pulled. So my new total is 562,818. 562,818 Cubs cards. So David asked me yesterday when we met up, he's like, so what's the count up to? And I said, well, this will put me up to about 560,000. He said, that's it? And I said, yeah, by design, the last 6 months, the way the market's been, I've been focusing on eBay. So, once this market dries up and dies down, I'll go back to buying and trading, and I'll have a nice little nest egg to buy Cubs cards with. So going by plan right now. So that was my Friday. What else did I do in the hobby yesterday? So I made a Target run. So I've been having issues with the post office. And I've had issues with I've talked about, there's like technically 3 different post offices in my vicinity. And I'm kind of like dead center. There's Madison, there's Verona, which actually delivers my mail. And then there's Middleton, which is where my office, when I work in the office, my wife's office, Costco, like all of our shopping and eating is typically Middleton. So my post office box is actually in Middleton, and I'll drive to Middleton to get my mail and drop off my mail. Well, once I opened that post office box 2 years ago, I'm like, well, hey, I don't have to stuff my mailbox outside with all my PWEs. I can just drop them off at the post office when I pick up my mail. So first day I do that, I get a stack back in my freaking mailbox with postage due. And I've been doing PWE for years with no issue. And all of a sudden, Middleton post office refusing the the postage. So I just said, screw it. I kept putting it in my mailbox, and to this day, and this has been 2+ years, and I've been doing this for 5 years or 6 years with no issues. Did have one issue with Zach. I know his came due, but I think that was from his side, and I think because the postage I use is 55 cents worth of postage, but on older stamps, I think there was a miscalculation by his driver or somebody along the way. So now all of a sudden I'm dealing with more issues through the same post office. I drop off my bubble mailers because I typically fill my mailbox with PWEs. Anything else I'll drop off in a big blue mailbox, and the bubble mailers I'll drop off at the counter at the post office when I go in to pick up my mail. So all of a sudden, and I've been using the Brother QL 800 2.5 by 4 inch labels. They are too small for PayPal, which I learned the hard way. I'm still looking for one package that is probably still at the post office. But Brad's package, Shep's package, Brian's package were all returned to me this week. So they're going back out today. But the eBay labels print okay, and they should be. They were for about a month. And I was dropping them off at the same stupid post office, and they were scanning and delivered successfully. Now, all of a sudden this week, one day, I get a stack of like 20 bubble mailers that I had dropped off on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, they're on my porch. So, I ended up dropping them off at the Madison post office. And I use Zach's package as a guinea pig. Guess what? My local mail driver, beep, scanned it, picked up, and it should be in Zach's mailbox maybe today. So I'm not going to take any chances, and especially, the trades are all done through PayPal shipping, so I do need to get, print off labels. So I'm thinking, so yesterday I actually ended up I had a really annoying, frustrating morning, and so I just told my boss I'm taking a half day. So I took a half day and went and met up, did our in-person trade, and I had to drop off my old printer that stopped working. I ended up recycling it at Best Buy, and I'm like, I'm just going to buy a cheap printer. And I used to do this back in the day when I printed off more stuff other than shipping labels. I would just buy cheap $30 printers, and 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you could buy $30 printers, and which is the cost of ink, and you get the ink with it. So I would just buy printers, and I know that's not green or whatever, but I was also on a very limited budget working in radio. So I'm thinking, times have changed. It's probably a $50 cheap printer now. So I'll drop $50 and I'm not printing too much, so I'm not going to be putting too much in ink costs. So I'm just going to buy a cheap printer. So go to Best Buy, drop off the printer for recycle. They don't have cheap printers. Cheapest is like $80 or $90. Zach's multitasking in and out. Your mail is scheduled to arrive. Awesome. Good deal. So cheapest printer is like $80 or $90. I'm like, okay, if I'm paying $80 or $90, I may as well just buy another label printer that prints the 4x6 labels. So that was the plan. So I went to Target because I had to get a few things anyway, and it wasn't a card run, actually, a Friday Target run that was cards were secondary. But of course, I went in the card door to check it out. There is a sign now. Now they have, my area Targets have been limiting cards for several months, probably 8 months. They started limiting back in, it was kind of a trickle. Initially, they were limiting like just one, like the hot product, like Mosaic basketball, and then like anything basketball, basically. And then it just kind of, it was one store, and then the other store started. And now I think it's nationwide with all Targets. I think they're all limiting quantities. So now there's actually signs, and there was a sign on the Target closest to me. It's I think it was three items. You're limited to 3 card items, so that could be 3 blasters, 3 packs, but 3's the max. But there was nothing on the shelf. And I went at, I think it was about 2 in the afternoon where I was there. And sometimes he'll stock this store like first thing in the morning. Sometimes he'll stock it like it's the last store on his run at like 4 or 5 p.m. So I couldn't really tell because it was kind of faced nicely like he had been there. The only thing that was on the shelf was like 2 hobby boxes of Heritage High Number, which don't buy because they're like 125 at Target. You can buy them online for 100. And then there were like 6 or 7 2020 Chrome Update blasters, which I don't even think I bought any of that. It just the 2020 update did nothing for me. I bought a couple blasters. That was it of the regular stuff. Didn't buy any Chrome. And no 2021 tops because I thought this weekend I'll do a couple more blasters. I've enjoyed ripping 2021 tops. It's going to be a while before our next product. I think Heritage was pushed out. So went off, did my shopping. And I thought, maybe if he stocks in the evening, when I'm out running errands on Saturday, I'll run in and buy a couple blasters. So a friend of mine reached out to me on Twitter and he's like, hey, did you go to Target today? And I said, yeah, this and this was on the shelf, but I don't know if he'd stocked yet. So he may have done the late afternoon stock. So he's like, well, I'm on my way back into town. I'm going to check it out. So he went in and said completely empty. And I think he did say there was like a hobby box of Heritage High Number left on the shelf. So I don't know if the vendor actually stocked it all, if he did stock in the morning and it was wiped out by afternoon. I'm not sure. So that's interesting. I do have to run some, I've got a bunch of signs to put up for my wife today. So I'll be all around the city. So if I'm near one of the other Target stores, I'll pop in just to see if there's any 2021 tops. So that was my retail experience. And so back to the printer. So what I ended up doing is my wife's printer is actually right next to my work laptop upstairs in the office. So I'm like, can I email these labels? And she's like, why don't you just hook my printer up? So we got that. So I printed off the labels that I needed to, got those printed off. And so now, when I'm down here and I need to print like from PayPal, I'll just download it as a PDF and send it upstairs. Also learned a hard lesson with the PayPal shipping. Is that you can't go back and like on eBay, you can go back in and, say you ran out of ink and you didn't realize it and you had to go back in. You can reprint the labels pretty easily on eBay. On PayPal, no, it's not easy. I thought it would be. I've never had to do this on PayPal before. So I went back in and went into the transaction and there was like no option to reprint the shipping label. So I asked on Twitter and a couple of people said, no, you can't do that. So what I ended up having to do is they give you 48 hours, you can void the label and you'll get a refund from USPS within like 2 weeks, 15 days. So that's what I did. And it's like, if I have to eat the cost, I'd rather get the shipments there than, not. So, if I have to eat the cost, I'll eat the cost. My mistake for printing a small label. So, so I did that. And then I reprinted and it's a brand new tracking number. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll get my $10, $12 back, whatever the shipping was. So I learned a hard lesson there. So what I'll do down here is when I need to print on PayPal, I'll save it as a PDF. That's what some people recommended. Save it as a PDF, and then I'll just email it to myself and then go upstairs and print them when I'm all said and done. So Dan, my school was set to throw out an Epson photo scanner, but I kept it, paid $30 for the missing cables. Nice. And I also did run into Goodwill. There's never cards at my Goodwill. But I still, it's like I had the afternoon off. I'm just going to go run. I should check out Goodwill. Electronics at Goodwill is kind of like, I don't know if they test. I'm sure they test them. I don't know. I did buy a VCR at Goodwill like 2 years ago because I had some old like home movies from college and I put those in and didn't want to watch those. So maybe I'll check out Goodwill if they have a cheap printer, and that'll make it, a little bit easier. So Dan and George, last night your shows were awesome. Dan, I loved the Japanese player cards, and actually Joe Weiland. So after your show, I looked up. He's actually on the Cubs now. I guess he was signed in the off season or like at the end of last season. So he's actually on the Cubs. I don't know if he was a non-roster invite, but the Cubs signed him at the end of 2020, and he's on the roster battling for, I think, a bullpen spot in 2021. So that was cool. Yeah. And there were a lot of names, and Bobby Scales. So Bobby Scales was one of the players. He was, and we're going back, maybe it was when I was still in Illinois. So we're going back like 7 years. So Bobby Scales was a Cub, and he actually played a little bit in Chicago. And he was actually like a coach, like a roving instructor for the Angels. And the Angels low A affiliate was in Burlington, Iowa, which was one of the closer Midwest League stadiums to where I was living. And so we would go in, great autograph spot. And my friend Neil, who I talked about yesterday with the David Bodie story, Neil worked at the university where I worked at, and one of his coworkers, so my friend's coworker's wife, was the like assistant general manager. Her father was like the general manager. She was the assistant general manager for the Burlington Bees. And so he tipped off, he's like, hey, remember Bobby Scales? He's a roving instructor for the Angels. He's going to be in Burlington this week watching. He's like, so we can get some autographs. Before or after the game, I can't remember, but we went out, introduced to Bobby Scales, and he signed some stuff for us. I got a signed baseball, and so it was pretty cool. So that's my Bobby Scales. So when he popped up, it's like, oh, hey, Bobby Scales. I have a Burlington story from when he was a roving instructor in the Angels organization. So that was really cool, seeing some of those old names that were in the Cubs org. So that's what I had for today. Look forward to tonight with our Zoom chat. If you have not heard about it, check in with Herman, 3B collection. He's got the details, and that'll be fun tonight. Zoom or StreamYard, wherever. I may have to move out of this room because my internet's really wonky in here. And I think Dan and George, when I was on your show, when I was in my rec room, I think my connection was stable the whole time. So I'll probably do that, just move everything out like I did on your show a few weeks ago. So that way my internet's not stir crazy like it is down here in this card room. So that's what I had for today. Hobby Hotline's coming up on YouTube. Check that out. Brad, Texas Card Dude, is hosting today, and Brian Gray's going to be on from Leaf. So I'm really excited to he always tells awesome stories. I love listening to his stories anyway. But now that Pro Set is back and Leaf unveiled that they are reviving Pro Set, the first card is for sale now on the website, Trevor Lawrence, in the 89 Pro Set design, which is like, takes me back to childhood. I was a huge 89 Pro Set collector back in the day. So I'm looking forward to hearing Brian talk about the revival of Leaf. And I think Jeremy Lee is also on. He's a hockey guy. So a little bit for everyone today. So excited to tune in today to Hobby Hotline. So that's it for today. Appreciate the chat. Good stuff. And look forward to chatting with you guys tonight on our Zoom call. And I will see you then. Thanks.